let's do some more examples on splitting of middle term, that is factorization of a trinomial by this method. Let's take for the first example, which we'll take as a simple one. So let's say example 1 is x square minus 8x plus 7. Now we take coefficient of x square, which in this case is 1, and the constant, which is 7, as product. So 1 multiplied by 7 is 7. And we take the middle term, which is the coefficient of x, as the sum, which is minus 8 over here. Now we make two factors of 7 and 1, as I have described in my previous video. So the factors of 7 and 1, 7 are 7 and 1. Because the sum is minus 8, so we're going to write the factors as minus 1 and minus 7. And we are going to split minus 8x to minus 7x and minus 1x. And write x square and plus 7, the last term, as it is. Now by grouping the first and the second and third and the last, we take x common from the first two terms, and we are left with x minus 7 over here. And since we have nothing common, but we do have minus 1 as common in these two, and we change the sign of plus 7 to minus 7. The point to note over here is that these two terms should be the same. If there is some sign difference or these two terms are not same, that means there is something wrong with these two factors. So you need to go and look back at the factors. Now we take x minus 7 common, and we are left with x here and minus 1 here, which we put them in the other bracket. And these are the factors of x square minus 8x plus 7. Let's take another example. Let's say it's 2x squared plus 13xy minus 24y squared. Like I said, you have to take the coefficient of x square and the last, in this case, the last term is coefficient of y square as the product. The product in this case is minus 48, and the sum is the middle term, which is 13. So now we make factors of minus 48 such that their sum is 13. So we know 16 times 3 is 48. Either it's minus 16 plus 3 or it's 16 minus 3. Now 16 minus 3 gives us plus 13. So we'll split 13xy to 16xy minus 3xy. And again write the first and the last term as it is. Now grouping first two and the last two, let's take 2x common. We are left with x plus 8y, and from here let's take minus 3y common. Again we are left with x plus 8y. Now let's take x plus 8y out, and we are left with 2x minus 3y. Now these are the two factors of the trinomial, 2x square plus 13xy minus 24y squared. Let's take one more example. Okay, this time let's take, instead of a quadratic, let's take an equation with the power 4, which is more complex than a quadratic. But then we can convert it to quadratic by substituting a square as some other variable. Let's say a square is equal to x. So a raised to power 4 will become x square minus 11x plus 10. Now this is our quadratic trinomial. Again, product in this case is going to be 10 and sum is going to be minus 11. The factors of 10 are minus 10 and minus 1. Let's split minus 11x to minus 1x minus 10x. Write x square and plus 10 together. Now, grouping the first two and the last two, let's take x common. So we are left with x minus 1. Let's take minus 10 common. We are left with again x minus 1. So again, let's take x minus 1 common and x minus 10 over here. Our factorization is not complete because we have to convert x back to a square. So let's write x as a square, and we can see we can factorize these two terms further by method of difference of squares. So we can write 10 as root 10 square. Now a square minus 1 square can be written as a minus 1 and a plus 1, and a square minus root 10 square can be written as a minus root 10 and a plus root 10. The difference of squares has been explained in my previous video. So still the formula or the identity which we use in this case is to split a square minus b square as a minus b and a plus b. So this is how we factorize our trinomial by splitting its middle term.